Okay, and welcome back to KAB7, your source for Los Angeles news. This is Chad Green reporting live from the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center after we received jarring news. Earlier on this morning of October 23rd, 2002, music producer Kanye West was in a near-fatal car accident. After a late night of producing songs for Beanie Sigel and the Black Eyed Peas, West left the West California recording studio around 3 a.m. and fell asleep at the wheel. After being suddenly awoken, he was cut off and ran straight into oncoming traffic. A head-on collision soon occurred, leaving Mr. West in severe condition. He was soon transported here and is currently undergoing facial reconstructive surgery to reconfigure his obliterated jaw. More details soon to come. Back to you in the studio. So, after that incident, Kanye West would go on to create his first hit single, Through the Wire, with his jaw wired shut. It was the success of that song that convinced label executives to greenlight his debut album, The College Dropout. So a little background knowledge, Kanye West was born in 1977 and was raised in Chicago with his mother. He was interested in music from listening to video game music and realized that he liked the way that certain things sound, and he wanted to make his own sounds by learning to play piano and write poetry and different things like that. So he grew up and went to an art college for 1 semester. After that, he dropped out and started making beats full time. So he made a little bit of money making beats, but he was still pretty poor, right? So his mentor, No ID, taught him how to make different sounds and different samples and by making his own style in the music. So he made 3 beats a day for an entire summer. And after that, he became kind of popular, making underground songs that some hip-hop artists would hear and be like, oh, that's Kanye West. He was the producer's producer, the one that people kind of could have a specific sound to. So The College Dropout is currently a triple platinum album and has sold over 4 million copies worldwide. Many consider it to be Kanye West's best album. In 2004, Kanye West changed the entire sound and landscape of hip-hop with his debut album, The College Dropout, by making artists more innovative, genuine, and conscious. Someone might ask, how did Kanye make hip-hop return to a space of genuinity? Well, he spoke about everyday life and his journey through the music industry. This made listeners feel as if he was speaking to them personally. He talked about everyday topics like his car accident or family troubles. He still rapped about things that normal rappers do, but he wouldn't lie to his listeners. He would be like, "Yo, I'm out here in the streets with my guns, selling drugs." He would talk about everyday issues that most people wouldn't talk about. His depictions of life before his career as a rapper were not glorified. In addition to bitter commentary on academia, another theme is evident in West's beliefs about the materialistic culture of our society from a black man's point of view. His song All Falls Down is about a young black woman who combats her insecurities by making excessive credit card purchases. That materialism extends to her personal life, as she couldn't afford a car, so she named her daughter Alexis. In Spaceship, West talks about his discriminatory job experiences at the department store The Gap. It is evident West is working in an effort to better himself. However, his bitterness shows through because he works behind the scenes as a stock boy until it serves the store well to have a black person out front. That was from L.B. Davis's The College Dropout, a narrative critique of the music of Kanye West. He was never afraid to speak his mind on issues, sometimes to negative effects. Now we know Kanye is the guy that says the wrong thing at the wrong time. But back then, it served as a way to launch his platform in a way that made people want to listen to him. He pushed the boundaries of the sonic landscape by incorporating multiple styles together in the music and pushing others to innovate. He created a whole new style called Chipmunk Soul, which is where he took older soul samples, older soul songs from the 70s, and would kind of speed it up so that it would match the beats that he was rapping to. He produced tracks for this album over the course of 3 years, constantly changing and modifying the final product. After he was in his car accident with his face wired shut, he brought all his production equipment into the hospital room with him and made the song from his hospital bed. He made a mixtape called Get Well Soon and featured many demos of songs from the album. He used a different format for this album by including smaller skits littered throughout the album and a 12-minute outro telling a story to the point where he was at that time. He also forced the hip-hop community to take conscious rap more serious by launching it to a much larger scale. He had no fear approaching issues he saw in modern society, such as racial divides, the problems present with materialism, and different things like that. He diverged from typical hip-hop topics by talking about religion and racial issues. He also showed a return to hip-hop origins by talking about like everyday issues going on in the community around us. So back in 1982, there was a song by this guy called Grandmaster Flash called The Message. Many people think of that as like the first modern hip-hop song. And that was what really like launched the whole community, because it was just a guy rapping about problems that were going on in New York at the time. So with Kanye, he kind of brought hip-hop back to that space of like talking about what's going on today. So he made a personal connections with his listeners by talking about everyday life, and people are still affected by this album, and whole new generations are looking to it for inspiration. Without Kanye, there would be no Chance the Rapper. There would be, maybe Drake would have like a completely different sound. There would be like a different version of Travis Scott. A lot of different people that we listen to today were heavily influenced by Kanye's early work. He also brought a return of conscious thought to the hip-hop community by speaking out with issues that affected him. Too many times, people are afraid to stand out from the crowd and develop their own style. Would you rather be an original version of you or a modified version of someone else? All right, any questions?